Hey folks, here Rachana Ranade here, and I welcome you all to an interesting IPO review video, which is about RateGain Travel Technologies Limited. I'm sure you might be like, again, अरे pre bumper कुठे चाललंय आजकाल, right? But this is again an attempt to do a one shot recording of the video. I've been a teacher for 10 years, so always gives a pleasure if I were to do one takes for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes back to back. It's fun, right? Otherwise, in this like lights, camera, action, is maybe we have a chance to do takes and retakes. But one take is fun and gives me a nice pleasure, takes me back to the live teaching days. So here we go. Hopefully, I'll be able to cover this company for you in detail in another, my target is maximum 15 minutes. Let's see how far I stretch it in and cover it in a quick manner, right? So let me just share my screen quickly, and I'll be able to show you PPT that I've prepared, right? Chalo, so we are going to talk about RateGain Travel Technologies Limited, and if you know, I've already covered a base point for this entire company, RateGain, not an IPO review. In fact, this video was almost a 30-minute video wherein I've talked about the entire company in absolute detail. Why I thought of doing this video, not an IPO review, because it's a SaaS company. Okay, SaaS is like software as a service. If I were to wrap it up in one or two sentences, instead of buying a software, I take that software on rent. Okay, that can be one of the simplest versions of what is a SaaS. But if you were to know more in detail about this, video first, understand what the company does, because they have three different products which I've of course dealt in detail, and then you can come back to this video. By the way, I've also done one video recently, last Wednesday only, wherein I've talked about IPO hits and misses of 2021, a very interesting video. So whenever time permits, don't forget to watch that video as well, right? So going ahead with RateGain, as I mentioned, this company has three major product lines. I can say one is data as a service, second one is distribution, and third one is martech. Okay, I'm not going to talk about all three in this video because, as I mentioned, we have already covered this. One interesting point about this company, it's one of the largest aggregators of data points in the world. For what? For the hospitality and travel industry. So basically, they are the largest SaaS company, agreed. But do they provide software as a service for each and every industry? Answer is no. Where is their focus? Their focus is into two major industries, which is that number one, travel and tourism, and number two, it is hospitality. Okay, so if this company is into two major industries of travel, tourism, and hospitality, we have to understand the industry analysis first. And if you have a look at this from 2015 to 2019, this entire industry has grown at a CAGR of almost 4.4%. Not a stellar one, but of course, understand the base itself is pretty high. It's 1,207 US billion dollars. That's the size of gross bookings in the travel and tourism industry. Then you can see that huge drop of almost 61% in year 2020. No need for me to mention the reason, everyone knows that. And from that, you can see a 22.8% CAGR rise, which is expected from 2020 to 2024. Now you might be like, earlier it was only 4% CAGR. Now how come CAGR expected is 22%? Base is very less, na? A CAGR on the base of 1200 to 1400 versus taking it up to 1300, but from a base of what? From a base of 556, right? In spite of taking it at a CAGR of 22.8, ideally estimated figure of 1381 billion, that's still a shade lower than the 2019 figure. So that's what tells us about the story of entire travel and tourism industry. Next one is about the hospitality industry. Here also same old story. CAGR originally of 4.1%, drop of 55%, and then an expected CAGR of 19.4%. Here it is expected that at least it reaches the same pre-COVID level, right? Now moving ahead with the key points for this company. Okay, now if I were to talk about this company, three major products as I discussed: DAS, distribution, martech. If you see total revenue 19, 20, and 21, has it increased or decreased? No need for me to tell you, because it's mainly serving the industry of travel, tourism, hospitality. The revenues have to be hit, no doubts on that. So here you can see from 2615 it went up to almost 4000 and has dropped to what? 2,500, of course I'm talking rupees in million terms. So here YOY basis, you can see there's a drop of almost 37% if I'm comparing 2020 versus 2021. 37% drop, that's a huge one, right? But now let us also compare 5 months ended data, 2021 versus 2020. Here you can see that the revenue numbers, which were at 978 million in the last year, 5 months ended data, now it has gone up to almost 1252 million for the 5 months ended data for 2021. And this takes us to the growth of almost 28% from the base of 978. So of course one can argue that because the base is very less, we can see a 28% growth. But still I may say that 5 months ended data is 1252 million rupees. Okay, this is just 5 months ended. And here you can see the entire fiscal was 2507 for 2021. So I feel that even if I double this figure up, ideally it should cross this, and doubling will be only 10 months, not 12 months data. Okay, so hopefully by the end of 2022 they should be able to surpass the 2021 figure at least. Okay, that is what is just base doubling mathematic explanation of this. Now what one more important point, understand this company's revenue will be generated from two types of travels, right? One could be a business travel, one could be a leisure travel. Now if you ask me, Rachana, you also might be traveling a lot. The answer is yes. Has my travel percentage gone down? Answer is obviously yes. Okay, earlier whenever I used to do business travel, the business travel used to be like very crazy. At least twice or thrice a month I used to be out of Pune. But now the travel has surely dropped. Why? Because people are getting much used to Zoom meetings and Google Meets and all that. So has business travel gone down? I feel yes. But has the leisure travel gone down? I don't think so. I'm sure everyone has heard about this concept of revenge tourism. Okay, आता माझी सटकली, आता मला जायचंय. Okay, so everyone has done some sort of revenge tourism. In fact, you might have seen the Mumbai airport visuals as well few months ago, where people, I mean, bus stand just dikh raha tha wo, Mumbai airport. It was that flooded with people, right? But was that the story only in India? No, you can see here that even I just happened to read the CNBC news article. I'll put the link of this news article in the description as well, where this article mentions that there's a sharp rise in summer flights, no vacancy, hotels are filling fast, train and rental cars shortage. That was the level of leisure travel that we saw few months ago. Okay, now why am I stressing on this leisure travel point? Because when I was reading the RHP of this company, I found that company has generated 96.48% of their revenues, total revenues, from leisure travel. Okay, so is that a positive point for the company? Yes. Okay, so all in all, to sum up, number one, as I mentioned, in absolute terms, have their numbers dropped? Yes, almost by 31%, whatever, 37% YOY. But if I'm talking about a 5 months data, push of 28% on the upside. Why? Possibility, one of the reasons might be that major revenues for this company are coming from leisure travel rather than business travel. Okay, now moving ahead, let's talk about the geographic breakup. You might be wondering why I'm talking more about US. I mean, why did I refer CNBC news article? Why am I talking more about US? Why I'm not talking about India? Reason is in this slide, geographic breakup of the revenue for this company. Okay, now if you see here, out of the total revenue that the company generates, I'm talking about fiscal year 2021, out of 2500 million, I'm just rounding it off, 1600 million is coming only from North America. Now you get the reason why I was talking about this article, news article from CNBC. Yes, because majority of the revenues is coming from North America, 1600 plus million, and Asia Pacific and Europe almost more or less similar. Now problem is with Asia Pacific and Europe, they have not opened up as much as North America, because the rate of vaccinations in North America is way too higher as compared to Asia Pacific and few parts of Europe, right? Now if I talk about again North America, as I mentioned, here travel is anyways opening up pretty fast. Plus, very important point, I believe, whatever data is there in the RHP is of 5 months ended. Okay, August ended data we have, and all this Thanksgiving, Christmas, which will be coming up in Thanksgiving just happened, I guess, 1 or 2 weeks ago, and Christmas is upcoming. So this is the one where the travel, leisure travel again, ideally should boost up, and this might give a good boost for the company revenues. This is what is my thought process. It's nowhere in the RHP. Reason simple, because 5 months data is only present in the RHP, right? Now if you check this, as of now looks good, okay, agreed, but everyone is aware about this Omicron thing. Okay, now WHO tells Asia Pacific to brace for Omicron, 10 points. I read some news articles about this. Europe lockdown fears rattle investors, spark, whatever. La, la, la. This is about Europe. Even in US, I was just compiling the PPT yesterday. So this is just 4 hours ago. So this is basically yesterday. Okay, Omicron, Biden tightens travel rules amid new Omicron cases. So if this Omicron virus turns up to be a shade dangerous, I hope it does not. It does not turn as dangerous as Delta. But unfortunately, if it's like very contagious, if it spreads really fast, in that case again leisure travel might get impacted. And if that be so, can it be a bad news for the company? Answer is yes. Okay, in the short term, because of this Omicron virus, things may be a bit topsy turvy. Okay, now going ahead, okay, we did talk about the revenue thing, we did talk about the geographical breakup, we did talk about the Omicron virus thing. Now let's talk about the recent developments for this company. It's also mentioned here again, again I found it in the RHP that company has acquired My Hotel Shop, and they have done this acquisition when, with effect from September 10, 2021. Okay, but this is just a mention in the RHP, but the data, the financial data, is only for year ended August 2021. So whatever revenues could be generated because of this acquisition, the revenues might reflect only from the upcoming quarters, not in August data. So again, a shade plus point. It will be basically interesting to look at how this acquisition is able to add up to the numbers for this company. Now let's move on to the key performance indicators. We are going to talk about annual recurring revenue. Now the word says it, annual recurring revenue. Okay, in simple words, whenever I'm talking about a company like SaaS versus a company which sells a software, right? इन हिंदी भी से ना, मुर्गी काट के आपको पैसा कमाना है या मुर्गी को जिंदा रखना है और अंडे बेच बेच के पैसा कमाना है. Two different thought processes, right? Disclaimer, I'm a vegetarian, just an example. Okay, whatever anda murgi I'm talking about. Okay, so if I'm talking about a murgi wala example, that's like a sale of software, one time revenue generation, khatam. But if you're talking about a SaaS, it's like ande bej bej ke every whatever cycle you're going to get uh, the revenues from for the company, right? SaaS is something like that. You're going to get a recurring revenue every month, every quarter, whatever, however they bill it. They're going to get a recurring revenue from their customers. How much is their annual recurring revenue? The numbers, if you see from 19 to 20, they were amazing, but again, a huge drop in 2021. But again, interesting to watch. What is that? 5 months ended data, August ended. Here you can see it's 3,000 already. Okay, 3,006. So ideally, for if I were to gross it up again, I feel that this can be again a good one if I forecast based on base mathematical doubling up or whatever. Okay, so could be good for year ended 2022. How much is the active customer count? Active customer count also you can see continuously increasing from 1,190 to 1,274 to 1,337. And if you check latest 5 months ended data, this is the highest, 1,462. So good sign. More and more customers, active customers that they have. Can I say their recurring revenues will automatically go up? More customers, more revenues. But then the question is that out of the total revenues that the company earns, how much is the recurring revenue? So for that, here you can see, I found, yes, recurring revenue is a percentage of total revenue. Here you can see that for the year ended 2021, 99% of the total revenue is recurring revenue. And even if I'm talking about 5 months ended data, 99.8% of their revenue is recurring revenue. So please understand, more and more average revenue per customer, more and more of active number of customers, more and more of recurring revenues, that's going to be good for the company. What about the customer acquisition cost? If you see from 0.98 to from zero point 0.9 to 0.98 to 0.93, and if you check out 5 months ended data, it has gone down to 0.74. In simple words, if I were to sum this up, of course there are a lot many points that I can talk about, but all in all, I feel that this point is very important, that the unit economics, I believe, are improving for the company. Even though on a gross level basis, you can see that there's a huge drop in revenues. And as I'm mentioning, it's obviously because of the pandemic. Okay, no need to tell about that. Now, if you go into the financial analysis part, I'm not going to talk again about income because we know this story already. Drop, drop, drop. Many people are only focusing on one part. Array, they are into losses. Okay, Here you can see that the company is into losses. How much losses you can see? In 2019, company was making a profit of 110 million. In 2020, 200 million loss, and 2021, 285 million loss. Bhangar, very bad. That is what many people might just feel only if they look at this figure. P&L loss, khatam, bekar. Okay. I feel that whenever we are analyzing any company, we just should not look at only one figure and make our final conclusion, right? We should look at multiple figures. You can very well have your own conviction about the company, but I just feel that you have to look at major many angles, right? Not only the pat figure, that's not the only figure. If you now watch at the EBITDA figures, let me take you to this. 2 points I've talked about. One is EBITDA. This one I've already marked it. Here you can see that yes, it is going down from to 217 million to 87 million, and boom, down to 61 million. But still, this is a positive number, okay? But this is only base EBITDA. Now, if I were to add back ESOPs, and if I were to add back some loss on foreign exchange fluctuation, so this is known as an adjusted EBITDA. At adjusted EBITDA, they are plus 236 million rupees positive. Okay. So, all in all, is it a loss making company? Yes, at a PAT level, it is loss making. Okay. Is that bad? Yes, one may feel it is bad. But I personally believe whenever I am analyzing any company, if the company is loss making even at an EBITDA level, I feel then I prefer to stay away from such companies. But if it is positive at an EBITDA level, I'm still a shade comfortable with this. Now, why is the company going into losses then? Of course, they have a big chunk going into depreciation and amortization. Okay, so this is one big number which is pulling it into losses at the PAT level. But of course, those who are those who have learned fundamental analysis from me, or those who have taken some formal education in commerce, they know that depreciation amortization is a non-cash expense. So even if that's a huge figure, I mean, would not make a lot of problem for the company, right? Chalo, moving ahead with cash flows. Here, if you see net cash generated from operating activities, again, are the numbers going down? Yes, from 362 million to 191 million to 206 million, improved a little bit. Even for 5 months ended data, also it is going down, but I feel still it's positive, at least at an operating cash flow level. If I go ahead with the valuations part, you can see that valuations problem is that because it's loss making at a PAT level, I can't really comment on the EPS valuation. Anyways, it's a negative. Return on net worth, again, same problem, in negative. Net asset value per share, again, not really something to be commented on, right? Problem is that whenever I try to search for the peers, no good peer as such, no direct comparison kind of a peer for this company. But then we try to find out some peers at a global level. There is one company, Freshworks, which is listed on Nasdaq. It's a US based basically. But then one small difference is that, to whatever I recollect, Freshworks is also a SaaS company, but not only for travel tourism. Okay, they have multiple industries that they serve. SiteMinder is another company at a global level, which is listed in Australia. Okay, risks and litigation risks. I did talk about the Omicron virus risk, but litigation, no major litigations that I found in this RHP risks. Any other risks? Yes, I talked about 4 or 5 risks in my previous video, which was not an IPO review. I've already mentioned you have to watch that video also so that you get a better understanding about the company. When does the IPO open? 7 December, closes on 9th of December. IPO price is 405 to 425. It's a mix of fresh issue and OFS. Again, some people are like, yeah, fresh issue is 300 crore, 375 crores. OFS is 960 crore. The promoters are offloading. Wait, but the key promoters, who are like, the first key promoters, one of the founders of the company, they still are having more than 50% stake in the company. I'm talking about even post listing. Okay, post listing promoter stake is also, I'm comfortable with that. We have seen companies where promoter stake is below 10% also. Okay, so 50%, I'm fair enough, okay with that. Okay, overall closing thoughts. I believe that in the short term, can the company see a jerk? Answer is yes. We have seen that in the financials. If Omicron or any other variants keep on coming up, I feel that why only this company, any company which is related to travel, tourism, hospitality, they are going to face that jerk. Okay, but in the longer term, I believe that with more and more, lean coming up as a reaction, uh, that might be a positive for the company in the future, or any company in this space in the future, right? One more point is that the company has 3 amazing products. If they are able to cross sell, upsell with a good combination of offerings, then again it might turn out to be a positive point for the company. And then the final question, will I apply? To be really honest, on face, I'm happy with the company. As I mentioned, do I see risks in the short term? My answer is yes, I do see risks in the short term because of the virus thing. But from a longer term perspective, I believe that yes, I can see some positives in the company as well. But will I apply? And in how many lots and from how many accounts for that? You'll have to check my video live on 9th of December at 10:30 a.m. So don't forget to join me live on our YouTube channel, CA Rachna Fadke Ranade. Till then, take care. Jai Hind. Wow, I love this one take video. Bye bye.